NACAC 2022. We have one of your own here with us from NACAC. We have David Hawkins here to talk to us a little bit about the organization as a whole and really what you all are focusing on this year and really in the future.
Yes, well, you know, my role at NACAC tends to focus on issues related to advocacy. And we have decided that because our membership is so large, because we're in a moment where we have pretty significant issues in the environment that we have to pay attention to. The pandemic set us back a lot in terms of equity. There are a lot of students out there struggling. There are a lot of persistent issues related to college access. We made a concerted decision to emphasize advocacy at the association. And oftentimes when we talk about advocacy, people think about the policy side of advocacy.
Right.
That's an important part. But we want to be thinking much more broadly than that. For us, advocacy will include policy, but it will also include a lot of other types of work that when you, for instance, when you educate someone about an issue, that's a form of advocacy because you equip them to go back to their school or their institution to go and implement something new. That's a form of advocacy. Another way we encourage our members, but we also try to help our members advocate, is in working within their own systems. You know, everybody reports to somebody.
Right.
Even if you're the president of an institution, you have a board of trustees you report to. So we want to make sure that we help our members advocate for themselves and their students in their schools. So principals, superintendents, school boards, and on the college side, provosts and presidents, boards of trustees, and even state legislatures. And a final sort of form of advocacy is speaking directly to the public, perhaps through the media or even in other ways. We want to equip our members and encourage our members to share their expertise with the public, because you probably know how the public has a perception of college admission. When you talk to people about college admission, they kind of picture the Ivy League, the Stanfords of the world. They think college is impossible to get into. But the reality is that most four-year colleges are quite accepting of students. The average acceptance rate in the United States is 65%.
Huh.
So colleges, on the whole, accept 2 out of every 3 applicants who apply. So we want to try to expand our notion of advocacy. And of course, our focal point is equity. Because all of the things I mentioned, the different governance structures, the different ways we think about college admission, and the different barriers that students experience really have created and sustained equity problems in this country. So we want to go about changing that, and that's the type of work I do at NACAC, and of course I couldn't do it without the members. We have a ton of dedicated members who volunteer their time to go and advocate. So we just want to encourage that, and we want to grow that.
And what kind of response have you been seeing from the members? Obviously, it has been a long couple of years with a lot of change, but with all of this support, what have you been hearing from your members?
Yeah, well, the first thing we've heard is that this is badly needed. You know, that even in their individual circumstances in their jobs, they are really having to learn new ways to advocate because there are new problems and there are new methods and there are just new complications that we never really foresaw before 2020. In terms of the participation, we have seen a great increase in the number of people who are looking to advocate now. Because frankly, while we do often talk about the students and we do center the students as an association, we have now all been affected by what's happened in the last 2 years, whether it's the pandemic, the social justice challenges we've had. People are ready for this now in a way that they might not have been prior to that. So we really have been really pleased at how many people have just stepped up. We've seen increases in the number of people who want to talk to their legislators. We've seen increases in the number of people who are willing to speak to the media on behalf of themselves and the association. And we've seen a hunger for education. We ran, for instance, out of NACAC, an Anti-Racism Education Institute. That program has sold out every time we've offered it. So people are really, I think there's a moment that we're trying to meet here. And yes, people are stepping up.
I love that.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, I know you just sent your daughter off to college.
Yes.
What advice would you have for parents who are about to embark on that or doing that themselves? I'm sure I feel like my parents said that they were, the day I was born, they're like, oh no, you're going to leave us one day.
Yeah. It is, even for someone who has worked in this profession for 23 years, taking my own children through the college search was challenging and difficult. And there are a lot of reasons why, separating from your children being a big one. But, I think my advice to parents would be, first of all, really listen to your children. Start broad. Ask them, what kind of environment do you want to be in? Don't have any sort of preconceived notions about where they should be. You really want them in the driver's seat to a large extent. The other thing that I really think is important is not to, if you as a parent went to college, had any experience with post-secondary education, don't fall into the trap of thinking that it's going to be the same process. Because frankly, I went back in the 80s, and it was very different. And I certainly saw things in my kids' college searches that were so very different from mine. And even when they actually enrolled and went through their first steps, very different from my own. So that's another thing. And I think that the final thing is the college search process is about fit, is about finding the right fit for your student or your child. So many of us can fall into the trap of thinking about reputation, thinking about the brand name of a college, but oftentimes there are colleges out there that are doing amazing things, but because of the fixation we have on those highly selective schools,
Right.
these colleges are relatively unheralded. So I think it's important as a parent to think broadly, to know that there are thousands of institutions out there that can be a really great fit for your son or daughter, and that just to kind of try to step back a little bit and let your budding young adult take the wheel for a little while.
That's such great advice. I know parents are worried about it, so very wise words of wisdom. Wise words of wisdom. We're going with it.
I'll take it.
Lots of wise wisdom things happening here.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for all that you do for NACAC, for all the administrators and students, and good luck
thank
with your
you.
college kids out there.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.